Did you know that one of the most famous series from the early 90s was actually an American counterpart of an already pre-existing Japanese series? I'm talking, of course, about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers being a counterpart of the Japanese series known as Super Sentai. However, there's a bit more to it than that. And in this video, that's what I'm going to talk to you about. So, let's get right into the thick of it. The first difference is the name. The first series of the Power Rangers was called the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. However, in Japan, this was not the first season of Super Sentai. This was the 17th season of Super Sentai. This series in Japan was called Kyoryu Sentai Zhu Rangers. And there are tons of differences. The biggest difference being that the cast of the Zhu Ranger are all century-old warriors who have been asleep for years until evil comes back. While in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the cast is all children, teenagers in high school, who get their powers from a talking head who's like, hey, Rita Repulsor's back. She's evil. Go deal with her. And they're like, well, okay, I guess you gotta go deal with her. And they do. They're somewhat successful. We're not going to talk about that, though. We are going to talk more about the differences, though. Another one of the big differences between the cast is the casting itself. In Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, that is, they had to fit a certain diversity quota so that they could hit a lot of demographics. Because in America, it's much more diverse than it is in Japan. So, they had 3 guys and 2 girls. Each of the guys served some sort of demographic in high school. We had the nerdy kid, the jock, the kid in touch with hip-hop, the smart girl, and the cheerleader. And like I said earlier, they were all teenagers. While in Zhu Ranger, you had the princess, the shaman lord, the warrior with knives, the warrior with the giant spear. You can't really relate to that. Not as much as you can to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So we're just going to push that aside. Also, in Zhu Rangers, they only had 1 female character in the main cast. And that was the princess, obviously. In America, the Yellow Ranger from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, instead of being a guy, was a girl. And the irony in that is that the Yellow Ranger from Zhu Ranger's name is actually Boy. It's B-O-I. Kind of ironic. I think it's ironic. Whatever. We're going to move past that. Next step. What really makes the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers unique from the Super Sentai series is not just the fact that obviously it's filmed in America, it's based in America, based for an American population and the American people, but the fact that it takes film from not just one Sentai series, but 2 other ones. It takes film from the Ghost Sentai Dai Ranger to fill in the gaps of its 2nd season, as well as taking scenes from Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger for the 3rd season. And this is the only season of Power Rangers and technically Super Sentai to have more than 1 season. Like I was saying, they used Dai Ranger's scenes when they had the White Ranger come into play. And that was it. They had a few scenes with that. It wasn't that long. Extremely successful, though. Tons of money was made. And in the 3rd season, the Power Rangers lose their powers and get ninja powers, which is where the Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger comes from. They get those things, they bring them in. As for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Super Sentai goes, that's pretty much the main differences. They completely forget 2 seasons of Super Sentai, and they just put it in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because it was so successful. They made so much money. Back in the early 90s and late 90s, you could not go into any store without seeing something Power Rangers in there. But another big difference, actually a few years later, in 2001, when Power Rangers made Power Rangers Time Force, which was the counterpart to the Japanese Super Sentai Mirai Time Ranger. One of the big differences, obviously, like before, Asian cast, American cast. Big difference. But another one of the big differences that they made was the fact that they had these edited scenes. So in Japan, in the late 2000s, when this episode was made, they had a character destroy a bunch of buildings. And by the time that episode came to America, 9/11 had just happened, So they thought it was a bit too inappropriate to have, so they opted that scene out, and didn't even happen. They were just blowing up mountains and stuff. As for time measures, that's really the only difference, besides the obvious ones, but it's a pretty important one, I say so. And that's pretty much it for the Rangers and the Sentai series differences. There was just 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, 1 season for every Sentai series. They were children and not warriors, and they edited out some scenes to make it more acceptable for American audiences. That's pretty much all I have, and that's it.